There's, I think, the ordinary pressure that you would expect. You know, last game of the year, playing a really good team in a place like this. But you know, I think when you take the floor, you're focused. You have pressure that you put on yourself to perform your best. Every time we take the floor at this level, it's a big crowd. It's a big deal. You know, this is a bigger game. You have a chance to hang a banner. You have a chance to wear a ring for the rest of your life. And so I think everybody recognizes it's a little different. But at the same time, we want to approach it such that we're going through the normal business-like person that we do.
You guys get together tomorrow. Did they remind you of anybody you've seen this year?
Nobody jumps out. They're really impressive to me because they got so many different levels and their length. You know, so whether they're playing man or whether they're playing zone, they're always contested. They're hard to finish at the rim. They're physical. You know, the guy who's averaged 20 points a game, 250 assists. I mean, those numbers are just staggering. So he puts a lot of pressure on people just trying to guard that team.
It's a sign of the maturation of your team. When you look at last night's game, clutch times, Gabe hits a baseline jumper. Clemens hits the runner in the lane. Zach hit a couple of good shots. The depth of production is pretty amazing the way it comes.
It is, and I think that's been the beauty of it. You know, because you don't ever know what lineup's going to be on the floor at much time. There's always been different players, and the truth of the matter is that doesn't always work well in the locker room. And for us, it has. Whoever's on the bench is cheering the guys that are on the floor, and those guys know it. And the guys that weren't in the game, we throw for the guys who were. That makes it fun to coach.
You guys have worked in this program the last 3 years. What would it mean specifically to send Eric out with this win tomorrow night?
Well, in particular, with how he's played this year. Well, I knew he would be a great captain, and I knew he'd be a really good player. But he's been a spectacular player. He's been an incredible clutch player. And he's done it at a bunch of different positions, and that's harder than you think. He's incredibly bright. He's really matured as a basketball player, and he's mentally tough, and he's physically strong and gifted. And to watch him play the game with the ease that he's playing it with, and remembering back to when he was trying to figure it all out, and see a guy who just persevered and made himself one of the premier players in college basketball right now. And that's exactly what I think he is. To see him be able to cut the nets down would be a great feeling for me.
When you look at Adam, you know, he couldn't have had a more difficult couple of matchups to end his season on. I mean, yesterday against Glenn and then tomorrow with Austin.
Well, you know, the thing with Adam is, you know, he welcomes those challenges. He doesn't back away from it. I think he has continued to get better, and he has been a phenomenally productive player for us, you know, down the stretch. And you know, with the wins that we've had recently, it was 11 out of 14 or whatever. I mean, he's right in the middle of it.
Have you given any thought to what show you're going to take the team to tonight?
I think it's Motown. You know, I think it's going to be a function of how many tickets can we get. That's one that they want to go to. I thought that would be a good one. There's one or two others we may have to split the team up depending upon how many tickets we can get.
What would it mean for this team, the character and the mentality that they've had in this NIT after being disappointed not making the NCAA plays to win this?
Well, you know, I think, you know, when we didn't get in the NCAA tournament, we forgot about that 30 seconds after the bids came out. You know, it didn't happen, okay? Where we go from here? Well, we had a great opportunity to play in a phenomenal tournament. You look at the field, it's the best field I've seen in a long time. You look at the quality of teams, and we knew what was in front of us. And anything short of phenomenal focus, concentration, attention to detail, and we would have never made it here. You know, when you look at how good Indiana State is, when you look at how good Stony Brook is, and then have to go on the road and get a signature road win, a very difficult environment, and then come here and deal with the pressures of playing at Madison Square Garden against a tremendous Maryland team. So these guys have stayed true to each other and continued to persevere, and I'm thrilled for them to be in a championship game, and to win it would be, you know, just an incredible feeling for all of us, but also, you know, for our fan base, which has been absolutely terrific. I mean, I think just last night, how many Hawk fans were in Madison Square Garden? But it's been like that everywhere we go. And at home, it's been something short of amazing. To be able to reward them for their support of us would be another great feeling.
Coach, do you have one guy that guards Peter Jackson, or do you do it by committee?
Yeah, I think you got to mix it up. You got to rotate some guys. You got to keep fresh people on. You know, I think Dev's size will be good. You know, I think Clemens will be good. I think Cassell would be good. Wouldn't be opposed to, I guess, using our Mayon. You know, he's just so crafty. You know, and he settles into a guy or a defense, and you have to mix it up with.
What's the game plan with Mike? It seems the last few games he's given you everything he could in the first half, and then you've sat him the whole second half.
You know, I probably did him a disservice. You know, my plan was not to play him at the point. I put him back in at the point because I needed to give Dev a rest. What I should have done was put Clemens in at the point and kept Mike over the 2 spot where he's really been effective. And, you know, obviously in his role, which is somewhat limited, you know, in terms of his injury.
You had a media understanding last night when you got back. Was that focused on the game just passed, or were you already looking at Baylor at that point?
That was Baylor.
It was Baylor, just a quick. Andrew had the scout, I think.
Right, we gave the scouting reports, we went through personnel, we watched a little film. You know, we fed them. You know, and it was probably got up to about 130.
How about the coaches? Did any sleep last night?
We were up until a little after 3.
Do you think you have a good feel for Baylor? I mean, they're length in their front line. And
you know, Andrew does, of course. He's been watching for a long time. I didn't watch him a lot this year. Saw him a little bit on TV. I'm somewhat familiar with their personality. But watched a lot, you know, since last night already. We were back in here this morning. So.
Like, what time would you get up started again this morning?
I was up. I got up to my room about 3:30, and then I was back in here before 9.
Coach, you talked about marshaling Cassell a little bit because of his injury. Because there's no more games tomorrow night, you just turn it loose. I mean, given that he really can't hurt himself anymore.
I think it will be a function of how does he look out there. You know, I think, in fairness to Mike, and thinking about his future, you know, when I'm out there, if I thought it was going to be really bad, or if he was hurting our team. You know, if you remember the 2 games where I had to yank him, he wasn't. You could tell that he wasn't going to be effective. It was not his fault. So then you get him out. You sit him out, shut him down for the rest of the night, put him in a boot, get him ready for the next game. The amazing thing is, he's been making shots for us. He's been making plays for us when we do go to him, and he'll do the same thing again tomorrow night.
I think you might look back at this game and say, you know, the way Anthony struggled late, he really took a step up. You look back at this game last night.
You know, he's had games like that all year long. He just had that little stretch there where he got a little sideways. He's a tough kid. You know, with him, like I've said to you guys before, his concentration level can waver at times. He's a guy that we got to stay on him. We stay on him. He's a tremendous person. He really wants to succeed. Wants to be good. Wants to do what we ask him to do. He usually does. So we just got to ride him a little bit, but he starts to decide.
How much does this run help recruiting?
Well, I think it'll help recruiting because there's just not that many teams on. It's not, you know, we're on. All those games are on national TV. And talking about our program, talking about the players. Kids want to play hard. They want to be playing big. It's great.
Do you see next year Dev kind of still being the primary point, or do you going to go back to
I think that will manifest itself throughout the summer and our overseas trip. But I wouldn't rule it out.
Coach Baylor's point guard is incredibly quick. Is there anybody that compares in the Big Ten?
But you know, he's a lot like Trey Bird, I would say, because you know he's a lot like Aaron Kraft. He shoots a little better than Aaron Kraft. That's why I say Trey Bird, because he's such a good shooter. You know, I think he's Appling, similar to Appling, but I think he's a better passer. You look at his numbers. I don't know if anybody's got numbers like that. I mean, they get to look it up. Nobody's got numbers like that.
When you look ahead now, how accelerated is your progress you make as you look into next year with these 5 games? How much have they done to establish yourself and what you want to do next year?
Well, I think to be able to show that we can beat really good teams on a big stage. And obviously, the next step is to do it in the NCAA tournament. And feel as though we've got the personnel.
And you're not only beating teams, so you're hitting double figures. I mean, how much growth is that?
Well, I think last night the growth was evident because they made a couple runs at us and we were able to hold them off. Like Rick said, with various people making baskets. We're just not riding one guy. As much as we've ridden Dev, his numbers have been terrific. And the way we started the game because of him, they really impacted.